My beautiful people, on this beautiful hump day, welcome, welcome, welcome. Little love action going on tonight. I am playing There Is a Light by Casey Musgrave. That's my intro. Because what we're talking about tonight will definitely be about light and how we learn about that. And I have a number one fan. So I am going to introduce to you to the phenomenal, I see you, Jody. I'm going to need you to request in about 5 minutes. I'm still learning how to do this. Anyway, I'm going to introduce you to a really phenomenal woman. I'm not going to tell you that much about her because I want her to tell you a story. I think the reason why this IG Live is so important to me is that we meet people along our journey that literally blow us away. They tell us their story, and you can't fathom how they've endured what they've endured, and they teach you more than you can imagine by their journey. Jody is someone that I could talk to for hours upon hours and still learn more each time I talk to her. So we're going to have fun. You might need to bring your tissues, but it's okay because behind the tissues, a lot of love, and a lot of support. So I'm going to introduce you to Jody, who's a beautiful woman, a new friend of mine. She's a mama and a wife from Michigan. And Jody, I need you to jump off of the IG and then jump back on and hit the button request to join. And then I can add you. But right now, I can't add you. And I need to have you here to chat with you. So just go out and then go back in and hit that little button request to join. And voila! Coming. Ah, okay, coming. It's coming. Okay. You want to flip your phone, make sure it's facing to you.
I've got you. I can see you.
I can see you, but I can see me, but I only, yeah, Christy, I'll save it. I don't see you, and if we need you to go out and come back in, we will.
Oh,
But I don't know if you need to flip your camera or move your hand away from the camera, but I don't see you. Does anyone else see Jody? Oh, I can see you both. Okay, I'm blown away. Jody, I can't believe this. So can everyone see Jody? Because all I see, and I'm going to do a screenshot so I can show you later, all I see is green. So if everyone can see Jody, then I'm very, very happy. But I can't see her. Is that not wild? I think that's kind of beautiful.
I can see you. I see you there. Hello.
So if that, whoever's, okay, now I can, oh my God, this is so incredible. Whoever, okay, Christy, so you can see both of us. Okay. I think this is like very cool because I'm going to have to just look at literally a green screen and imagine your beautiful face. Anyway, maybe you'll come on in a couple minutes, but I'm happy that everyone can see Jody. And if anytime you can't see Jody, let me know. Anyway, we've got
If
a
you
lot.
want to pop out and we can try it one more time. Do you want me to do that? Pop off?
Yeah, why don't you just pop out one more time and yeah, and then reflect back in, and it'll be what it'll be. Hang on, a little technical difficulty, which we can handle. Hi, Ben. Everyone's saying hi to Ben all the way from Morocco. We got Karen in the house. We got Christy all the way from Australia. Very international night. Got Diana from New York, and we got Jody from Michigan. So let's see if we can see Jody, Jody.
We're trying to live.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to roll with it. Can everyone see my friend Jody? Ben or Christy or Karen, anyone who's on here, can you just let me know? Can you see me? And can you see Jody? And if you can see everyone, then I'm just going to continue. Okay.
All right.
I think that's hilarious. Anyway, focus, Diana. So I am so happy to see you or not, but to welcome Jody, my new friend who I just adore and learn from every time that we chat. We had many conversations, so tonight will be really interesting. Jody said, Diana, we're not going to have anything to talk about, and I kind of laughed at that.
So sad.
So, Jody, I started by saying that there are people you meet in your life who have a moment that they experience that blows your mind away, and you don't imagine how they can continue being an upbeat and positive and wise as you are to me. So I would like you to tell us, not me, what happened to you and your family on a Sunday morning after church, July 29th, 2001.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day, summer day up in northern Michigan. I had 3 children and a loving husband, and he was busy working at a golf course. So his boss gave him the afternoon off and just said, take your family out to brunch, because we had been apart for a large part of the summer. And so it was very out of the ordinary for us to sit down for a family Sunday meal in the summer, because he was a busy golf pro. And so we went out to a restaurant that we'd never been to before after church. And we had a 4-year-old daughter, Tegan, 2.5-year-old son, Brock, and our infant daughter, Wyndham. She was 6 months old and cozy strapped in a car seat when we sat down for brunch. So we ordered our meal up, and the food had just gotten delivered when we were taking our first bite or two of food. And I heard a whoosh boom that sounded like an explosion. And moments later, as you're picking up the pieces of what just happened, I turned to see there was a car that had driven through the wall of the restaurant that we were at. And we were the first table to take the impact of the wall and the vehicle. And my life just shattered at that moment, in that instant. We were all injured. And yeah, at one point at the scene, and I could go into detail, but it's pretty involved, I literally thought that my whole family was killed at that time. And slowly, as they start bringing people out, and I actually picked Tegan up at the scene and carried her. She was laying where her chair should have been. And she was already injured and needed CPR. And so I just laid her down, and somebody took over while I kept running into the building looking for where's the rest of my family. So it was a very traumatic scene. Several people injured, just, every fire department helper and ambulance worker and the whole small community of Gaylord and Johannesburg where we lived. They just sprang into action, and everybody started doing what they could. What it turned out is that the woman who drove the car, she claimed she was trying to kill herself that day. And so she drove into this crowded building, which she knew had people in it. She didn't live too far from where that restaurant was. But she had some mental health issues, and just was really in a dark place that day, and decided to just drive through the wall of the restaurant. And instead of killing herself, she ended up killing my daughter Tegan, who was 4 at the time, and another mom who was at the restaurant at the table next to us that day, and then critically injuring 8 others. And I was in a wheelchair for 7 weeks and had multiple injuries my own. So it was a day that changed my life forever. And I'm here, as you can see, with a smile on my face, with the word peace on my shirt. It didn't undo us. So I think that's the beautiful part that that you probably see, Diane. That's just kind of what's remarkable, is we weren't left broken and dead that day, even though that's what tried to take us out, just like consume you. And so, yeah, it's just one of those things where you can't imagine it. Nothing prepares you in life for that. And certainly it was life shattering for us, but even more so because we weren't really living in a world at that time. This was just 6 weeks prior to 9/11. So we were in a world where things kind of felt safe if you were making good choices. And I certainly felt like I was, going to church, going to brunch with your family. There's nothing too out of the ordinary, extraordinary about that. Nothing too risky, you wouldn't think, on a nice Sunday afternoon. So to find yourself in a world that literally just shattered and erupted around you, it was hard. I can just say that. There's just like so many layers. And I think just one piece of that is how we connected is that our infant daughter did survive, and she's 21 years old. And I've been, and my husband, full-time caretakers for her, and she has been a joy and a light. And one of the gifts born out of this has just been able to see how far she's come through all of that, and our family really, to see that just because something horrible and grief-stricken and tragic happens doesn't mean those words have to define you. I think people look at us sometimes and say, like, how amazing, how inspiring, how that. So that, to me, I wouldn't have believed that at the scene that day if you'd say, oh, you're going to be this inspiring family. No, my life was over that day as far as I could see. So that's just to maybe a word to somebody that needs to hear that. There's a way through grief. There's a way through darkness that doesn't just end in more darkness and more troubles. There's a way out, or through, or at least growth. I don't know. But I attribute a lot of that to just the faith, the prayers, the support, and the grit. It takes a lot of grit. I actually kept a blog for a number of years called Nitty Gritty, because there's a lot of fluff in this world, or there's a lot of people masking pain. And I think sometimes when you face it head on, and when you dig deep and you don't mess around, like we sat in the pain. I sat, like, I can tell you stories of, like, even doing laundry after we got home from the hospital, which was about a 1-month stay from my husband, from their injuries. And you get home and it's just too quiet and it's too clean and it's too, can't do this because this is not my life anymore. This is too new and it's raw and it's hurtful. And so you try and do something normal, which was me folding laundry or doing a motherly duty. And I literally, one day I remember, I think it was almost the whole afternoon, I just sat there with a flood of tears because Tegan's Days of the Week underwear were not in the pile to fold. And I just I didn't know how I was going to live anymore because I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even fold the laundry. And it wasn't because I had too much laundry. It's because I didn't have enough. And all of a sudden, like, those kind of things changed me, where I just saw how every little part of my life was going to be affected from that day on. And I guess the real to look at is how do you want to live? Like, I could have stayed ever again. I'll cry every time I do that, but it was like, there has to be a way for me to live through that, is what I felt, because I had lost so much that day. And yet I still had Wyndham fighting for her life and whatever part she could get back, because she had a brain injury. So we were just like looking for ways to give her the best of the best. And I knew a mom weeping over a pile of laundry every time it came out of the dryer was not going to be something. So I allowed myself to feel that, to sit in that pain, to recognize the loss of that. The enormity. Yeah. And then to just grit it out and just say, there's going to be something to this. There's going to be something more. And for me, it was a fight then and there, like really early on, to find joy, where, like, I need joy in my life again. Cause I had so much of that. Like, that's, as a mom of 3 little kids, like, you're just watching growth every day. They say funny things every day. They dance circles around you. They chew their sandwiches into funny shapes. Like, everything is just a delight when you have little kids. And like I said, my husband and I were happy. When I look back, we kind of laugh now, but at the time, like, one of our biggest troubles would have been like finding a late fee on a credit card payment or something, like, oh, we missed the little window and got it in 2 days late. So that would have thrown my week off. So we were really living in a sweet spot, and to have this just unravel your world, I knew I couldn't live that way. So part of what you see was just that inner, I'm down without a fight. And if I'm going to fight, we're going to try and fight to get back to what we had before. It's never going to be the same. So I probably kind of overwhelmed everybody just to drop that whole
No,
bomb.
no.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm reading Christy, you're incredible. The reason why I wanted to do this so much with you, and I feel that we might continue on different layers, is that in the short time that we've met, you have been such an incredible inspiration. And just to give people a little bit of understanding how Jody and I met, I mean, talk about synchronicity. Jay, who might pop on in like 20 minutes or not, Jay, who is the runner, endurance runner who has the charity in honor of caregivers, was interviewing me on IG Live about why I'm running to raise money for caregivers.
Which is a
And the
wonderful.
funny thing is, which is a wonderful thing, hi Oscar, and the funny thing is, you know how IG works, that if you, so Jody follows Chef Jason all the way in Australia, hello, we all do, and Chef Jason joined the interview of Jay, Jen, Diana, and Chef Jason. It was a Brady Bunch moment, right? And so when Chef Jason came to join the live, Jody got the notification, oh, Chef Jason's on live. And as Jody and I chatted, she thought, oh, I wonder what he's cooking tonight. Let me check in and say hi. So she came in, and here she was, like, with four people talking about caregiving and grieving, and she's like, there's no mistake of why me in Michigan came on to this live, and we invited her on, and that's where it began. And then I was like, Jody, I have to talk to you. So I'm going to ask some questions, and if anyone has any questions, let us know. But, many people go through this chapter of life where they are caretaking for someone they love and then grieving. Jody definitely has grieving and now caretaking for her daughter who's now 21. So the first question is really about wisdom and forgiveness. You know, Jody, you are such a radiant woman. You're full of wisdom, love, and tremendous forgiveness. And I remember in your interview on Oprah, which was, I believe, 6 months after the incident, and it was a show about forgiveness, and Oprah was asking you, like, how could you forgive? And you said something really beautiful. You said there's a difference between myself and the woman who drove her car into a restaurant trying to kill herself and yet harming and killing so many other people. The difference that you said, Jody, is because I was born and I was loved in a way that maybe she wasn't. And to have that much grace 6 months after losing your daughter and dealing with everything with your husband with 80 stitches and broken ribs, and you have injuries, and Wyndham has multiple injuries. So my first question is, apart from church, because I know church is very important to you, where or who did you pull this wisdom from?
Well, you did go in and out a little bit, so I was freezing up. But I
Oh,
think
my question was, like, where did you pull this wisdom from? Where did you pull this, apart from, your connection to the church, like, to answer a question to Oprah, that you were able to be that gracious and that open to forgiveness for a woman who had caused such great harm to you and other families. Who was your inspiration? Who helps you look at life that way?
I mean, I did grow up in a family where you always had to say you're sorry and forgive the other person. And there was a lot of that going back and forth. When you do something or somebody offends you or, You know, we were just, I think the culture what felt a little different growing up all those years, where you gave people grace. If somebody cut you off in traffic, you didn't automatically assume the worst about that person. And we kind of live in a world where, and again, like I said, like post 9/11 and just, you know, school shootings and random tragedies, people want justice for this. People want someone to have to pay a price. But I just remember sitting at the bedside of my kids, and that all three of them were in the ICU unit for the first like 5 days. And then Brock was released. He had skull fractures, and he was taken care of by grandparents. And then Tegan had already passed, and then Chip and Wyndham were in for another month. So and every shift changed. I don't know if anyone's in medicine here, but like an 8-hour shift can feel like a day or more, at least, right? When you're sitting there, and it's just so long. And especially for us, where it was critical so long, we didn't know, like everyone was like, just every day it was just like a moment could be different, like between life and death, or like needing surgery, or like just weren't any answers, really holding your breath. So that's a scary place to sit for hours and hours and days at a time. And I just remember at some of those just like bedside moments to just be not only wowed, like keep pinching yourself, like, is this really happening? Am I in a dream? Like, how is this reality? Because like I said, we're literally eating pancakes one moment and then boom. So your mind can hardly wrap around what you've just experienced, even though I was having nightmares and like, yeah, it was very traumatic. I wasn't getting any sleep the first like week. I think I got 5 hours combined for the whole week. So your mind sitting in that space.
I think you had mentioned something to me about your grandmother and her life, and that was part of something that you always remember.
I'm having flashbacks to, like, you know, what could we have done different? What just happened? You know, and to know that the woman who drove the car, she wasn't injured, so she was okay. Like, it just felt so overwhelming and unfair and just like horrific. And like, how do you pick up these pieces? And so I just remember that my grandmother had lived through tragedy.
Hang in there. I think you're freezing, but hang on, people.
I knew Grandma years later.
Yeah, you just cut out for a minute. Your grandmother had been through a lot of tragedy.
Yeah. And so as I grew up and knew her story and just loved spending time with her and being around her, she was one of the most loving and joyful and high energy, and just the grandma that you could spend every day with and not get tired of it. And so I knew, sitting in my space of pain and tragedy, and, you know, very similar to what she had gone through, the loss of a child, and just like her world was shattered, with the belief that you can come through this and you're going to be okay. So that was one piece, I think, that settled early in me. Whether or not I believed it, certainly didn't want to go through it. But I knew from the picture of my grandmother's life, she had gone through some really horrible, hard things. And she was a beautiful person, and everybody she knew loved her, and strangers too. So I knew that that was a possibility. I just didn't know what it had taken for her to do that. And I was ready to, you know, dig in and find, because like I said, when you sit in that broken space, you don't want to be broken anymore. You're already overwhelmed with hurt. You're already overwhelmed with pain. So it's like, you want that to stop. So what do I need to do? And as I wrestled with that, we were going to be able to make victim statements in court and speak to this lady who had driven the car, and she showed no remorse. She just, you know, she never apologized. She just stuck to her story. I didn't mean to kill anybody else. I was just going to hurt myself. But she was really like emotionless, and just, you know, there was not a lot of connection. And at the scene, she had sat down not just a few feet away from me and just stared and stared and stared. And so I had that image cemented in my head the whole time, and just thought, like, what does it take to break through to somebody then? Like, how much pain and hurt was she experiencing in her life if she wasn't even feeling that my whole world was broken right in front of her face? Like, that did not even faze her. And so a big part of it for me was, you know, just trying to picture, how do you get that broken? How do you get that hurt? How do you get that hard? And knowing if I come into the courtroom with, you know, statements about what a monster she was and how horrible she had ruined my life even more, that wasn't going to like compute with her. She needed to hear a different message. And I had had a couple of dreams leading up to that that day in court. That was the message that, you know, that this voice, which I attribute to God, is telling me. He wants her to hear a message of redemption, forgiveness, for hope. And isn't that what the world needs? Like, when we're all broken, we don't just need to be dumped on. You need someone to say, hey, there is going to be something to all of this. Like, she literally, her life was spared, so it had to be for. I kept thinking, like, it has to be for something, and it certainly can't be to have to just be heaped on even more. It was, you get a second chance. I hope you take this one and do something amazing with it, because my daughter wasn't going to get a second chance. She was gone forever. Wyndham is picking up the pieces. You know, like, Wyndham was going to have a chance, but we didn't know at that time how far she was even going to go in life. And so I just thought, someone has to tell that she has some hope for her future. And, you know, for us, it just that reality of extending forgiveness is going to bring more healing to Chip and I than it's going to do anything to her, because I didn't know, you know, does she even care that I'm saying I accept, you know, like, whatever's happened, and I'm forgiving you. But for us, that was a powerful thing for our own relationship and for our own healing, to just say that we forgive. And I have no doubt it's kept us, you know, that's a big piece of how we've been able to move through the last 21 years together.
I mean, yeah.
To just
It got what I was going to say. I mean, I think in the 21 years that you have been from that day to today, I think with that mindset, it brought you to who you are, and you're spinning around. So I'm going to wait until I know you're back. So, Jody, when you're back, you let me know. Are you back? Jody? Jody, when you're back, let me know.
Signal.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear.
Okay. So what I was trying to say in response to your answer is that I don't know. I think what I was trying to say is that I think your mindset and your attitude that you and Chip have in being able to forgive this person who really was just in the courtroom a shell of a human being, for her to look at a mama who has lost so much and not be able to comprehend that. She's definitely a shell of a human being, and yet you and Chip were able to graciously forgive her, which really was for her, but also for you. And I found that so remarkable. I really, like a huge lesson for all of us in that moment. So I'm going to move on to the next question. This book is a book that's really, really important to me, and it's called Hello, Goodbye. And if anyone wants to know the title later, I can let you know. And it's about rituals. And the author talks about the value of rituals in the time of change and loss. And he says the rituals are the most trusted guides during the times of change and loss. They give us stability in the face of uncertainty and remind us that there's always something that we can do, say, or make to conjure in awe, courage, and gratitude. I mean, I love that. And this is like a really, really important book. So if anyone wants to know more about it. But you actually created a beautiful ritual, you and Chip did, shortly after beautiful Tegan died. And it was called Coke Float Day. Can you tell us all about that ritual?
Yes, that's grown into what we call our own family holiday. So as I was going through photo albums at times after.
Okay, it's spinning. Could you hold on? Hold on, people. Are you there? Are you back? Okay. All right, just repeat it because you were in and out. So tell us about your Coke Float Day.
Am I on now? Want to make sure.
I can hear you. Yeah, we're good. We're good. Tell us about your Coke Float Day.
Yeah, so we had photo albums and I would flip through those at different times and was struck by the date stamp on this cute picture of Tegan and Chip having a Coke float, and it was stamped June 30th, 2001. And I forget if it was like 2 before that. And of course, cue the tears, like just weeping. Also, I had just had or was expecting a baby, like at that point. That's part of the story. But anyway, so I'm very pregnant. So I probably had hormones and everything going on anyway. But just, you know, like, how does that all happen? Like a year ago, we were living a totally different life and coming up, you know, like we had nights like this, or was this Coke float? And as men are, and this will come up too later, how we grieve differently. Chip he's kind of grinning at the picture, wonderful and special. And I'm just like horrified at like, do you realize like what we've lost, like that emptiness, that hole, that like how could we have lost so much? His was, well, we can do it again. We still have Brock here and he'd probably love to do Coke float. And so we did a little mini version of Coke float day that year. And then the next year we had Isabel and our family, and she was almost coming up on her birthday. So we made a little strawberry milkshake for her, and did our own little version of Coke float day that year. And then the following year or two, Chip was running a golf club and he was busy working that day. But I was like, we're now going to like this. Like, it's a pretty special thing that we, you know, can remember their sister this way. And of course, the kids love a reason to have a Coke float. And so we met him at work and sat at tables at the club, and other people were asking about it. Like, what are you guys doing? Well, on this day, we'd had Tegan's last Coke float, only we didn't know it. And so it kind of turns into a thing. And then a couple of years later, Facebook and social media, you know, it kind of just goes viral where everybody's like, what are you guys doing? We're having Coke floats, and now you're welcome to join us. And so over the years, it's grown bigger and bigger. And so we just celebrate this Coke float day now in honor of Tegan, because it's so hard to find a balance between like that grief and that loss and raising kids and, you know, living in the present while a mom's heart is still just like overwhelmed and never will move past that moment. And so this felt like a way that we could like celebrate Tegan and the fun that she was, and, you know, her new siblings that came along each year as we added to our family. It was a way to just help them stay connected to the sisters that they didn't know, but she had changed my life, you know. So I was not about to just pack her things away or close the door to her room and that was just going to be some shrine. It was going to be, she was an amazing person in my life. She was an amazing light to this whole world. And somehow that little spark, I think, still reaches us. And through Coke Float Day, I'm smiles and love and joy. Like, our kids just look forward to that every year. Like, you know, we're going to celebrate, and it's all because of Tegan. And around the world, people raise glasses and are intentional about just making a moment, because you never know when your life can be taken from you. And so it was just like such a beautiful thing that I feel like the universe gave that thing that you didn't know you were going to need, you know, a year from now. It just felt like kind of the gift that you even have this special day that Tegan I know she would just jump for joy that she sparked something called Coke Float Day. You know, she was just like that. So it's just a fun thing.
She created it. Yeah. She created it, and in a way it's so beautiful that, yes, you had these new babies that you had after the loss of Tegan, and yet they were, you know, they were part of your family. So you had the paradox of like, I want to honor and celebrate Tegan with my new baby, and do it in a beautiful way, and in a playful way. You know, who doesn't like a Coke float? You know, so
part of that is when my mom, she would talk to me, you know, after we lost Tegan, then I was asking her more questions about what she remembered from her childhood tragedy that had claimed the life of her 6-year-old brother, because she was very young at the time, and she had like no memories of him, you know, other than she had watched him burn to death, and just kind of like these terrible childhood memories.
Okay, you're going around again, so I'll wait until you tell me that you're back. Jody, when you're back, just tell me you're back. I'll wait. When you're back, Jody, let me know.
I think I'm on. Can you hear me?
Okay, yep, you're back.
Can you see me?
You're back.
Okay.
And Jay is
Yeah,
on
so
too.
same connections to my mom and her loss. And when she didn't really have any, she couldn't tell me her brother's birth date. She couldn't tell me what he liked. She could, and I just felt really sad for that. And I certainly didn't want that for my kids growing up.
All right, would you hold on a minute? I think I can't hear you, Jody. So let me know when you're back. Little Wi-Fi difficulty. Jody, when you're back, let me know.
I'm trying to find a spot. Okay,
Okay,
can you hear
there
me
you go.
now?
I don't know if they could, I can hear you. I don't know if they could, a certain area in your home that might be better. Let me ask you then a third question. Is I've heard that some, not all, but some souls that before they die, they prepare for their death and they actually even give messages that they're getting ready to transition. There are two things that you shared with me that blew me away. One of them about Tegan and what she talked about the day before she died or the day she died. And then the other is Chip, your husband, the goodbye. So can you share those two stories if you're there?
Yeah, so the one is she had turned birthday is March 14th and just turned 4. So this was just a few months prior to the day of her death that we did not know was looming. And she would come bounding into the kitchen or wherever I was, and she would like to ask, how many days am I? She had done it several times, and I could just kind of blow her off, and I don't know, or that's a crazy question. But I think it was 2 days before she died, and she came into the kitchen. I was busy making lunch, and she was insistent, like, how many days am I? How old am I? How many days am I? And I just don't know. Like, I would have to figure that number out. It's a big number, but I reached, I kind of bent to her level and held her hands, and I said, I don't know how many, what the number is. But I said, it's a pretty big number and you have a lot of numbers left. So I said, let's do it, like we can do another time. But I didn't have a calculator. I didn't even have a phone at the time. So otherwise I probably would have whipped it out and tried to think. But like that was one of those messages that I could just hear her on repeat as you're sitting there, signing organ donation papers and stuff. Like, what in the world? That was 2 days ago. Like, did she know something? Did she want to know the number? It was just a very strange question for her to ask and like to just insist on. But yeah, that was one of those conversations that stuck with me. And when she would just say, I just want to be 4 forever. Like, what? And then I'd say, like, do I, growing up, look that off? Like, why would you want to be 4 forever? But she just loved, she was so happy being a kid. Life was pure joy for her. Like, who wouldn't want to be 4 forever? But the fact that she vocalized those things and said them
She would
to
get,
me was
yeah,
very
she was
powerful
adamant.
later on, to just
She was adamant.
have that, like she had such a peace about it that she was happy. And then for me, as a mom, and I still sometimes, have to just sit there with that, like, how did she get her wish? Like, how could she have been so lucky? How could her life have been, so perfect? She even got her little wish to be 4 forever.
And then what happened with you're going around? So when you come back, are you back? Let me know when you're back. Let me know when you're.
Somebody's got a
Okay, you're
glitch.
back.
I don't know who it is.
It's okay. It's all right. We'll get through it. And then tell me about Chip and the message that he got from her.
Yeah, so Chips was pretty wild too. At the time when she was in the IU and we had a transplant team on the way to harvest her organs, and we were hopeful that her heart was going to go in North Carolina. Chip at the time was 3 floors up on the 5th floor in ICU at Hurley Hospital, and they came to cardiac arrest. And so the team was unable to save her lungs and all the major organs, but they will go to work and be able to take her corneas of hers and her heart valves. And so at the time I was injured. I had all sorts of just muscle and tissue damage. I was in a wheelchair, and my mom, she just said, you know, like, we can go tell Chip, or we can have a nurse call up there. And I said, no, we need to go tell him in person. Like, he was in bad shape, and you know, this is a hard thing to say, even though we knew it was coming, right? But it was just that moment. And so she, you know, wheels me out down the hall to the elevator, 3 floors up, down his hall to his room. And as she turned the corner of my wheelchair to go into his room, he was sitting up fairly well and looking at the door with just this grin on, kind of looking off toward the hallway. And I was weeping, you know, I'm crying the whole way up there, just that I have to come and tell him that she's gone. And he just had this look on his face and just said, Tegan's in heaven, isn't she? And I said, yeah, you know, like, I could hardly get the words out. I was kind of whispering, like, yeah, she, you know, 5 minutes ago, the team, and he was like, you'll never believe this, but 5 minutes ago, and he had no clue what was going on down there. Like, we were down 3 floors down. But I was sitting here, and it's physically got a real life hug from Tegan, and in my head and voice, I could hear her saying, Daddy, everything's going to be okay. Everything's okay. And he just kept feeling like she was giving him a hug.
Billy, hold on 1 minute. Don't put it away.
Huh?
Leave it out.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, a little. And he repeat that last sentence.
Yeah, so Chip was just sitting there, like, with this glow, because he had just got this hug from Tegan on her way to, you know, like he just said, I would doubt that heaven is a real place. She just hugged me, like, over and over, just kept saying everything be okay. And yeah, that was powerful.
And she, yeah, I mean, it's so beautiful. She knew, because you're a mama bear, that if she had to get that message to someone, she was going to get it to her daddy. She was a daddy's girl. And that she would let Chip know, I'm going to be okay. I mean, it's beyond words. It really is. Are you there?
I'm here, yeah.
Okay, good. All right, so the next question is about relationship. You know, it's known for so many people that when a couple or a family, but really a couple goes through trauma and loss, it's so much pressure on their relationship and so much hardship. What can we learn from you and Chip, and what advice and tools can you share? Because you're, you know, this is 21 years and you're a strong, loving couple. How did you survive, or how are you surviving? What can we learn that you and Chip got right in that?
We also celebrated our 6th wedding anniversary in the hospital.
Wait, how many years?
It was our 6th wedding anniversary at the ICU. It was August 12th, so we were still in ICU and had an anniversary in the hospital that year. So that was just one of those things too, where you're like, what, you know, like, how do you go in 6 short years, you know, from your highest high to your lowest low, and just trying to pick, you know. And we were both in wheelchairs at that time, and one of the nurses found out that we had carrot cake at our wedding, so she somehow tracked down a slice of carrot cake for the 2 of us, and we went to visit Wyndham together. That was our big anniversary date, was Chip got out of room to come see her and, you know, sit at her bedside together, and we just wept together. But we were together, you know. And like I said, at one point on the scene, I thought I'd lost everybody. So a big part of me was always having those eyes to see that it would have been much worse, you know. And that's one of those things that it's hard and it's ugly to say that, because sometimes you're in a really bad place and it's hard to think of anything worse. But we knew, just as horrible as it was, like, we were lucky that we weren't all paralyzed, that we weren't, you know, like, that Wyndham was the only one that was going to need all the rehab and therapies and everything else. But the rest of us, it looked like we were going to be able to, and we, you know, we didn't have brain injuries. And so we just were really counting our blessings, even that first anniversary that we marked at the hospital. Going home afterwards, again, that is just one of devastating. It's just, you know, every moment of your day is hard and ugly and painful, and, you know, it's just, yeah, where do you start to pick up pieces and stay together. But for us, it just felt ugly and hard to break it up and to be apart. Even those times where you die, or people can say, oh, you forgive the lady who killed your daughter, but it's hard to forgive somebody for, like leaving their things laying around and you trip it or something. It's like the little things you want to lose it on because you have forgiven. It's just like, seriously, can life not just be perfect now because I've lived through something horrible? And so you go through all those emotions where
Hold on. Hold on. Let me know when you're back. Let me know when you're back. You back?
I can hear you and see you
Okay,
again.
good. All right.
Yep.
So when you freeze,
Anything?
I'm just going to do that, and then that way you know that we're not hearing you. So you and
That I'm
Chip were
totally
like,
fast.
we're in this together. We're a team no matter what.
And that's hard to do when you're two broken people, you're two wounded people, you're, like you both need as much help as the other person. So like today, one of the buzzwords that you hear, like the self-care and how to not feel, how to be able to
Yeah.
take care of something else you can't pour from an cup, like that kind of like when you're
Yeah.
grieving, you're just like a
You're
shell.
more than
You're not,
empty. You're
yeah.
not even a cup. Yeah.
So you learn, one of the things that we've learned that I think is very important is not only to extend a whole lot of grace, but to be able to allow the other person to feel going to feel, and you can still feel how you're going to feel. He might be having a good day and I'm having a horrible day. He might have a horrible day and I'm having a bad day. And it sounds terrible, but now I look back and say that's actually a good thing because we need one of us to be at least a little bit okay every day. So we never did hit our like dark, low, just pits at the same time. Knock on wood, like here we are 20, I suppose it could happen yet, but
Yeah. Knock
it
on
never
wood.
did time, which I also am just so grateful that, that we could see different things at different times or experience, the hurt at different times.
But
When
that's a whole
somebody
nother
wants to
that's a
just
whole nother
be
level. Hmm?
doesn't want to be angry, you have to just, you can't get mad at that person because they're angry now and you don't want to feel the anger. You're saying, no, I just like, I want to heal, and we can't be like, you realize grief doesn't pick like, oh, today we're all just going to feel hurt. Tomorrow we'll feel angry. Like it's not linear. It's not like packaged that way. So you have to be willing to allow each other that much. Sometimes he would literally like, I need to walk out for a moment. I needed this, or I need to go to a different room, or I need to, or I'll leave the room this time. So you realize it's not because I'm angry at you or you anymore. I don't, we're just overwhelmed with the pain and just the struggle of this, that we need space to hold it and deal with it and move through. I think that's what a big part again of just loving somebody, and why somebody like, I think the Cindy that drives the car through a restaurant, like she's so broken that somebody couldn't even let her feel broken, apparently. Like she couldn't express that. She didn't have somewhere to go with that. And when we don't have somebody that can give us that space or some place where we can deal with it, like that's why people explode, I think, and people are crying out in our world and our culture around us, like things are too heavy. This is too much. I can't do this. And we're seeing it come out in all sorts of ways, or people have really bad ways of handling it. And thankfully, like, again, I'm just grateful that we recognize that in each other. And sometimes I don't think we're always the best at doing it, but we do know that it's okay that not
Well, you
feeling
are
the
human.
same. And
Yeah.
it's important is to,
But
yeah.
I think that it's beautiful, Jody. I think that, look, relationships are hard enough to begin with. I'm 23 years into my marriage, and it's a constant flow of learning and patience. And hold on, I'm in New York. Ambulance. But I think that's beautiful what you said, is that especially going through what you and Chip have gone through, to be able to give each other their own space and say, okay, so this is, you're feeling really angry today, instead of like, well, don't be angry, be this. No, okay, well then that's where you are, and I will support you in that. Because then I know when I'm feeling something and you might be feeling better, you're going to have my back. I mean, it's a really beautiful connection that you have, and it helped you through, and probably will continue for a long time. So
I even remember we had times where I just remember there was a lot of times where you're in the kitchen, things happen in the kitchen, right? Conversations, or you're just in the kitchen, or things going down, or someone comes in with grocery, like he could come in with groceries and I'm weeping because, he takes out something she liked, a bottle of whipped cream. And all of a sudden I'm overwhelmed with hurt, and he got it because he's thinking, oh, this will be something special because she hasn't had whipped cream since, teen. And for me, it was just like, like it was like a gut punch. And in even those moments, like, you're not even trying to wound or hurt the other person. You're trying to actually bring light and help. And you realize, like, even those little things can be taken wrong, or
well, we all react differently. Yeah, we all react differently.
Yep. And so in those moments, and I think what the world doesn't get is hugs are powerful. Just like he would just come over, like I remember a couple times, like just come up and don't say anything, don't apologize, don't even say like I know, or this is horrible. Just don't use words. I think that's one of the things that saved us that first year, especially. Don't even say a thing, but that physical contact, like, because you're hurting, and we both get that there's so many layers here, and however you're feeling it, it's the same hurt, right? It's still the same pain. And one of the things was, like I said, shortly after, here we are sitting with just having Tegan's memorial services, and we're broken. I'm still in a wheelchair with my injuries, and 9/11, and I'm watching these towers fall, like reliving my own trauma of a building, that I had walked out of and carried a body out, like I was just seeing myself in every person that day and watching the footage and realizing like the whole world collectively feels on a certain level what we now have been feeling and living through, or, our own little 9/11, our own personal just like tragedy. And so that really opened my eyes to that we're not alone in this world. Like everybody has something, everybody has a big pain. And I just feel like sometimes when I watch the news, even now, 20 years later, can the world just breathe and give everyone a hug? Can like all the politicians just line up and just give hugs across it? Like we don't need division. We don't need this side or this side, or, whether it's race, whether it's gender, whether it's politics, like everyone just back up. Find somebody, go across the room and just like give them a hand squeeze. Like we're in this together. This is a hard thing. This is a, like a heavy thing, but we're going to pull. And the best way through it is not going to be blaming someone or yelling about how someone should feel, or that this shouldn't have happened, or can you believe, it's okay, let's breathe for a moment and let's just support each other. And now what's the next thing we need to do to just move through, or to just stay here and acknowledge it happening until somebody's ready to, grab the tissues. And that's what I think is one of the things that I really have seen our family do. Like, are pretty sensitive to needs of other people, needs of each other. Like, we get it wrong all the time. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of yelling. There's a lot of competition between my middle school boys, but they get that the best thing you can do sometimes is just not say anything and just, be a support to somebody. So keep your mouth shut. I think that's one of the big lessons I learned.
That's my mantra. If anyone knows me, I talk a little bit too much, but keep your mouth shut is phenomenal. And hug more and keep quiet. Like, it's incredible how much healing we could get with those two things, right?
Yeah.
All right, so the next question. For me, we all have gone through grieving, all different layers. There's no one on this planet that hasn't gone through grieving, right?
Right.
And so how I look at grieving, I look at it like a seesaw of joy and pain, you know, and for my pain of learning how to be with grief, I allow myself to ride the seesaw of joy and pain and let it be exactly where I need it to be at that time, like feel all the feelings. So, you know, in the beginning of a grief, my pain might be at the top and my joy is down in the ground. And then inch by inch, minute by minute, day by day, year by year, whatever it is, it starts to level out a little bit. And then in time, whenever I'm ready, it can go back to the process where I can be joyful again. But I give that process as much time as it needs. And I never ever question why one day I feel that and one day I feel that. Like I never ever judge. So, in what I've learned about you, how do you navigate your own seesaw of joy and pain? And what helped you most with the grief? You know, what allowed you to maybe just be even, you know, not fully in pain and not fully in joy, but just be okay to be even. What helped you with that?
One of the things I remember Chip saying on Oprah when she was talking to him, you know, like how do you pick up the pieces? Where do you go from here? And he just said, "There's happiness to be had in life. Like there's more." And this was only, I think it was 8 months after our incident, and you know, I don't necessarily believe what he's even saying there about the truth of that there's more happiness in life, because I was still nightmares constantly, like Brock couldn't eat at a table. We were just having family trauma. There was just issues. Wyndham was facing surgeries. Like we were a mess. And here he is saying that he believed that there's more joy and happiness in life. And, you know, it is what you make. And so I just remember even at that time, like, is that really true? Is there really happiness? Because I had not felt any happiness up to that point. You know, it's still, you're just overwhelmed with grief. And we've gone through the holidays, which hurt, like everything just hurts, right? So part of it is allowing yourself to even believe that it's possible. So I think that's one of the things, sometimes people that are overwhelmed with grief, and especially just, you know, like ours, it was just a horrific, unexpected loss. Like you're just blindsided by it. I think there isn't necessarily an awareness that you can move through, that you will find joy again, that you can find happiness, that some people feel like it's almost a dishonor to their loved one to, you know, like sit in the pain closer. And so I had to let myself, and Chip already was open to that the world's going to still have happy days again. The world's going to still have sunshine and bright, you know, and it's going to be okay for us to let that back in. So like you say, just trying to be open to how you feel, but letting yourself feel that. So I think that's an important thing,
Yeah.
is letting somebody, it's okay.
Yeah. And it's okay. And not to push anything away or not to judge or question or you shouldn't feel that or that. Just letting it be, right? Letting it be.
So we just
Letting
found
it be.
too that we wanted that for our kids too, that, you know, as we were working through Wyndham and all her issues and stuff, that you wanted the best of the best for both Brock and Wyndham after what they'd lived through. You know, it was just horrible and sad, and we were crying, and I didn't want them to grow up with a mom and dad that are just crying all the time, right? So
Yeah.
a large part for us was we had a major push to look for, to find joy, to like go out and create new happy family memories, because we wanted that for Brock and for Wyndham to just like have the best childhood they could after having lived through something so hard. So we really fought for that, like that even if we're having days where it's something is really hurtful and painful, we're going to try and find something good in that day for our kids. And I think that's an important part that actually pulled us out of the healing, because for me, it forced me to do things like get Tegan's little bake shop thing out, like her little easy bake oven, and we're going to use it again. And like, you know, I would, if I didn't have those two kids at home and I had lost them, I never would have touched that easy bake oven again. You know, it had just been like this little shrine. But it was like, we're going to make these little cookies, and they're going to be the best little cookies we've ever made, you know. And so yeah, to really have to struggle through that. Again, that's part of the grit of it, is how much do you push yourself when you're ripping that, wound even bigger? And how much do you say, okay, I'm going to let that heal this wound because it's really bringing joy in it, like, and of course, when they're so delighted over the little cookie, like how can a mom not be filled with joy again? Like seeing the delight on their face, seeing their happiness, seeing like, I wasn't so broken that I couldn't joy to someone else. And that was a big thing for us then too, was finding a way to give back to the community, to look at like reaching out, doing service, doing things for other people actually helps bring healing to your own self. So we got very active.
Oh,
We
absolutely.
had a foundation.
Absolutely.
Payment. Yeah. So what way do you take your eyes off your own pain and just, even if you just do something like small for the day, like for somebody else, bake something and bring it to the neighbor. Like to me, it was just those little things where you realize, okay, this is where life happens. It's in those places where it's hard, but you're still bringing joy to other people. So I sometimes say you have to create your own joy, but there's a lot of healing and a lot of growth, and that's actually where the beauty, and people think that's inspiring. Most of the time we're doing it just to be able to breathe and pick up a few pieces for the day. So
Keep it moving.
yeah.
Um, so the next question for anyone who's coming on late, there's a huge history here, but we are talking about grieving and caregiving. Jody lost her beautiful daughter Tegan when a suicide driver drove into the restaurant that her and her family were having brunch. And her son Brock survived, her husband survived, but her daughter Wyndham, who was a baby, 6 months old at the time, who is now 21, had severe brain trauma. And I know that you and I are going to be continuing talking about caregiving. And hopefully with Jay, we're going to talk about caregiving and what it really entails, what we can learn from caregivers. You have a daughter who's 21 who I think you told me her physical age is 6 months old. Are you there?
Well, you can talk. Yeah, I'm here.
Hold on, I'm sorry, it's New York. But her age is not. Educate me what her age is in your understanding.
So she has a lot of limitations because of her brain injury. She can't speak. She'll never be potty trained. She has limited mobility. We have to help her eat. She can feed herself, but a lot of times doesn't. So you just have like every part of her day, she needs somebody to assist her and help her. But mentally, she can work herself around the computer, and she loves Power Rangers and YouTube, and so she has quite a lot of awareness and understanding. It's just she has no way of getting things out, really. So she's
Right.
kind of stuck in there, and operates at about like a 5th, 6th grade level, but much less as far as physical abilities.
Right. So you and Chip have been caregivers for 21 years, 24/7. And the little bit I've had a tiny window into caregiving. I took care of my father, I've taken care of a few people, but I'm learning a lot more from Jay, who you met the other week, about caregiving. My dear friend Rita from Canada has been a caregiver of her mother, who has Alzheimer's, for nearly 20 years. And I have really been learning a lot more about what that entails. And so where do you pull your strength from on the really tough days? And what is the greatest lesson that Wyndham has taught you?
So I don't let my feet hit the floor until I've prayed for extra grace and strength every day. I think prayer is a powerful thing. And I learned that especially in the last like 4 years. Her issues have gotten much more pronounced with some of her just sensory issues and her needs. And again, like you stretch it out, our other kids are all growing up, leaving home, they're, getting jobs, doing things, and you just see her abilities some to get less and less and harder issues. So I just pray for grace, number one, and just say like, whatever I'm going to go through this day, Like, I'm going to probably need to pause and breathe sometimes. I'm probably going to have to laugh when I would rather feel like crying. I'm going to have to, for me, like it's a daily choice to forgive, to lay that down and just say, we have chosen this path of forgiveness. It has been, the best thing for us. Whereas, for Chip, that was kind of a one and done thing. Like at the very beginning, when this all happened, like I choose forgiveness. And for me, it's just like, oh man, here we go. This shouldn't be happening. Like this shouldn't be my life. So I have to sometimes literally say, no, this is the path that we're on. And it helps kind of redirect your focus. And just like see long term, right? Like, look how far we've come. Look what we've been through. Like we can do this. Like we have done a lot of hard things before. And so for me, sometimes just looking at that and seeing like, this is not going to be my worst. I've lived a lot of worse days. And so that almost puts a face to say, oh, I've got this. Like we have been trained for that, like almost like when a military person goes to battle, but then you bring in special ops. I sometimes see myself like the special ops, like whatever it is, we've got this, right? So sometimes, yeah, it kind of feels like you're going into combat as you have to get up and like, there are days where the whole room smells because you wake up and you didn't know that when it would have needed a diaper change in the night. So now I know I could have 4 loads of laundry and bath, and it's going to be a day that I don't want to necessarily live through. There's nothing going to be fun about this part, and for Wyndham too, it's not fun for her, and so I have to mentally sometimes just embrace like, this is where we're at. This is what we got. Wyndham shouldn't have survived, and she did, and she didn't ask for any of this, and she has never even said anything, like never had a complaint, never, like she can cry at times. She has a very high pain tolerance. So I just have to look for her and, like I want to give her the best of the best. So she's going to need mom to bring her A game to. What a gift for me every day then to be like, I get to be the serve her, to love her, to help her through these and ask for that she did not want to live through, that she would think to be a 21-year-old chasing a dream right now. And instead she has to hang out with mom and watch SpongeBob today. Like I have to look at it and say, it's rough for her too. And so then I sometimes just laugh. And even last week, there were several days in a row when she was not feeling well. And I just would say things like, here we go, we're putting on your happy pants and we're wearing rainbow pants today. And we're just gonna, give this day the business because, yeah, otherwise it's mentally like you will just break yourself down over and over and over. And again, it shouldn't be this way. It doesn't have to be, like you can beat that over and over, but that doesn't help. So you have to look at the things that do, like what's going to help, using my funny voice, me, bringing us, like maybe I'll go take something out of the trick-or-treat bag and surprise her if she wakes up. So when she opens her eyes, there's a little treat, and we're going to be like, if chocolate works, chocolate works. That's going to set the tone.
Hold on. You're going round. Hold on, Jody. Hold on. You're going round. Are you back?
I'm back.
Okay, you're back. The final.
So yeah, the battles are big.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you just look at her, and when I can get her to smile, which has gotten harder and harder the last few years, and some, especially like seasonal disorder, like she does not like gray and rainy days. And here in Michigan, we've got all winter coming. So when I can get her to smile over the little times when it's something you've done 1,022 times and you're going to do it again, and I can, like, that is the greatest, like I feel like a rock, because there's no way that there should be a smile, and she's made, so I'll look for a way to catch that on camera, like just to kind of remind yourself you're doing really well. As hard as it, and nobody would want to do it, you're doing it really well. And like sometimes I have to tell myself that because I don't have a supervisor, I don't have anyone giving me a review or a raise or anything. Just tell yourself you're doing something amazing, and it's hard, but it's what a gift that I get to be at her side, cheering her on, lifting her up, helping her out when she didn't ask for a minute of this. I get to be the one to make sure that it's as beautiful as it can be.
But what a beautiful lesson right there, is that, you're taking the tiniest moments of joy and light and really expanding them even more, you know, and because that's what you have to work with. And I think there's something really beautiful in that. So the final question for Very Long Live is actually my favorite question that we tapped on a little bit when we met with Jay and Jason. That our connection is through Chef Jason and Billy Ritter, who's a wonderful potter in Ohio, and Chef Jason is a chef and a potter in Australia. And Chef Jason says, we truly heal when we work with our hands and we create. I know that you, Jody, studied graphic art and you continued working with your art and even baking. And you told me at one point that you believe the real life lessons are in pottery. And Billy, the potter in Ohio, once told you, you have to create, like literally create your own joy. So my question is really about creating art to heal. And I know that it means a lot to me. What does it mean to you? Tell me what art and creating art has meant to you in the past 21 years.
Well, art is, I mean, it's where life is, I think, right? So art is, and it's such a visual, but it's an emotional, it's a physical, you know, it's just all of that. So whether it's the food that you create, whether it's, you know, something that you make, in a sense, like our lives are like that, you know, like a lump of clay that you're molding, you have choices. And what we're learning through all that grief and loss and the ugly part, you can remake something and you can make it beautiful the second time around. Or you can, you know, something didn't come out right, start over or add another layer or do something like it's nothing is ever beyond
Permanent.
being
Permanent, yeah.
redeemable, being remade, being restored, being whatever. And I think that's just a powerful thing that connects me with art is just and it came from no, you know, like where was they or where was that painting? You know, like it comes from somewhere. So when you
Yeah.
just like you dig in, yeah, you can make it. Do you want to make it beautiful? Do you want to make it good? And that's how you have to kind of face every day is a blank canvas, you know, like what are we going to page today? What are we going to make out of this mess that we have, you know? And that's what it is. It's
Every
the art.
day is a blank canvas. Oh my God. We need a t-shirt with that, right?
Right? But yeah, sometimes you just feel like all you've got is right, like a tub of black paint. Well, then let's give it a like turn it into something, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, we don't always get to choose what pieces and parts and materials you have to work with, but there is something that you can create that's or good or funny or somehow redeemed, you know, like a silly shape that never existed in the world before. You just did that to it, and look what we did. So today, one of the things that I did, I took Wyndham on a walk, a beautiful, gorgeous day, fall day in Michigan. And I have her, she has a modified wheelchair stroller, and she was kind of grumpy, didn't want to, and I get, you know, like our winters are coming, we're not wasting a day like this. And she was not having it, trying to give me a smile or act like she knew.
Hold on. You're going round. Wait 1 minute. You're going round. You're going round. Let me know when you're back, Jody. Let me know when you're back. Okay, you're back.
I
You're back?
think I'm back.
Okay, yeah. So you're in the
Okay.
stroller.
So every time they road, yep. And I would come up to where pro and I went and crinkle my feet as he could and throw them, you know, as we went through. And I was not about that, you know, what kid wouldn't want to kick the leaves and hear them crunch, and I could have got around them or avoided it or just made, you know, nothing about it. But I turned that into her little leaf party the whole time we went on a walk, and, you know, just
Okay, you're going round. You're going round. Let me know when you're back. You're going round and round and round. Let me know when you're back. Come back. Are you back? Round and round and round. Are you
Uh-oh.
back?
I see you waving and I can't get in.
Okay, you're back. You're back. Well, that's beautiful. So you ended up making a very playful moment with the leaves, right?
You got to do something, right? You're not going to waste all those
You got to
questions
do
on me.
something.
I know. But for
Anyway,
me,
I
again,
think yeah,
I was going to say, it just reminds you that you have the power to, like I've been doing this how many years? I can still make going on a walk in a wheelchair fun. Like look out world. I can still do that after this. So again, I probably did it more for me than I did for her. But as a caregiver, you're doing what you need for yourself as you're taking care of somebody else because it's hard. So got to make the best of it.
you got to make the best, and we're going to get that T-shirt. Every day you just you start out with a clean slate. You have the option to paint it or to not. We're going to end it here. This has been unbelievable. I know I am going to be talking to you a lot more, and I hope that I get to do more live with you.
I hope to get to do lunch
Beyond,
with you time. You're always eating something good.
I know, well, I'm always eating when I'm talking to Jody. And then I know you're going to come to New York, and I'm going to meet your Brock, but just incredible. Maybe the Camino is a possibility. I'll push you. I don't quite know what that means. But what I will tell you, Jody, is that you have inspired me from the minute I met you virtually. And I believe that you will be inspiring so many other people with your phenomenal attitude, your wisdom, your graciousness, your kindness, your patience, your level of forgiveness that is mind blowing. You will be a teacher for many, like you have been for me. And I'm so grateful for that. My heart breaks for what you and your family have endured. But I am so grateful for what you are teaching me. And you're going round and round at the final moment. Anyway, Jody, I need you to come back before I say goodbye.
Right? There has to be a
Jody.
wrap up here.
Yeah, okay.
I'm here.
So we're going to
Yeah.
wrap up. I love you. I thank you. You have been phenomenal. I will post this and we will be in touch. And I look forward to doing more live with you.
Yeah. Maybe in Cleveland at Billy Ritter's. We'll all go to Pottery Lunch Hour, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. Billy. Yeah, I love that.
Maybe
I
you could get
love that.
tickets to the circus show. Let's all go to the
With
circus.
you and Billy doing pottery, that would be great.
I'm in.
All right, Jody, thank you so much. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your night, and I'm sure I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right. I'm going to drink my water.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jody. Bye. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I'm speechless. I'm grateful. I will tell you from my end, I actually never saw Jody the whole time. I only saw green and red and yellow. It's really interesting. So tomorrow morning, I'm probably going to look into this and I'll be able to see her. But thank you for anyone who's on here. If you don't know me, my name is Diana. I do IG Lives where I interview people who inspire me, teach me, and make me laugh. One of the three or all three. Jody is by far someone who is teaching me and inspiring me. And her story is heartbreaking, the loss that the family have gone through, but what they have taught me and what they continue to teach me is just really, really beautiful. And on that note, I always come in with a song and I always come out with one. So we're going to end with one of my favorite artists, Jai Jagdish. Yeah, she does need a holiday. We need to give them a holiday for sure. But we all have so much to learn from each other, right? Everyone has a story, everyone has a journey, and everyone has a choice to make a left or a right. Jody is so incredibly inspiring, and I actually am. I'm too emotional. So I thank you for watching this and for listening to her story. Bye.